Hi class, let's take a few minutes and chat about what happened last week and what's going to happen this week. So you should have received feedback on the focus group assignment. If you didn't receive feedback, that means I didn't get it, and you need to make sure to email it to me. For everyone else, there is an answer key available to you in the class announcements. Remember that answer key is just to give you an idea of some possible answers and the theory behind those answers. I've gone through and tried to add support for that from various reputable sources, just so you have an idea of what should and should not be included in a focus group. I thank you for your patience with that Canvas assignment. I know that it has been frustrating working with Canvas this semester, and I apologize for that and want to thank you. Migrating to a new learning management system is always hard, and this is the first semester 391 has been in Canvas. Canvas has been a much more difficult transition than our transition to Brightspace or Brain Honey was. So thank you. Thank you for your patience as we've tried to work through that. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm happy to answer them. And I also wanted to answer one question that I've received in the last week. Why can't I fix this issue myself? Why is this something that we are waiting on? And the answer to that is that in order to keep all of the courses linked, so in order to keep all of the 391 courses linked, the course design team is the only one that can make changes because they are the only ones that have access to the master course. Yes, I can go through and make changes to our course, but if I do that, we are unlinked from all the other courses, and so if they push something through, our course won't receive it. So we need to keep all of those courses linked together, and that's why I can't just go in and make the changes. That also means that when we need changes to be made, we're waiting in a queue with other courses, and so that is why it takes some time. So thank you for your patience with that. Keep that in mind as you move forward with other courses that are transitioning to Canvas. I believe the entire university will be transferred beginning fall 2019, so the issues that you saw in 391 are likely to come up later. Any patience that you can have is greatly appreciated, but as you see those errors, please let the instructors know so that they can follow up and make sure that's fixed, because what you see on your end and what I see on my end are not always the same thing. So I don't see all of those issues that you do, and I really appreciate your help in pointing those out. Second, I want to thank you for your patience this semester with me as I've been moving. I know that things have been frazzled. I know that this may not have necessarily been the experience that you hope for, and I apologize for that. We had not intended to move. This was a surprise move for us, let alone a surprise move to Georgia. So thank you as we have tried to navigate moving our family and selling our house and buying a new house and all of those things that create a little bit of a challenge. So thank you, and I hope that this hasn't caused too much disruption to your learning this semester. So let's get started on our conversation about the research paper that's due this week. First off, you have all the feedback you're going to receive on your previous assignment. That being said, as always, I am happy to do a pre-read of your final paper. But you have significant feedback per section for the lit review, the research questions, the methods, and the results section. So 4 of the 5 paper sections you have feedback on. You need to go back through and make those changes before you send me anything to read, because I will go through and look, and we want to make those changes. We want to be efficient with our time. So make those changes before you send it to me. Okay. One thing to keep in mind with that method section, you originally wrote it in future tense. You need to write it in past tense now because it's over. It's the past now. Make sure that instead of saying we will do this, talk about what you actually did. Along those lines, your initial plan may not be the same as what actually happened. Make sure this final method section, sorry, I'm allergic to Georgia. This final the final method section needs to reflect what actually happened. So if there was a step in the process that didn't happen or that happened differently, please go ahead and make those changes in this final draft. The results section, you should have all received feedback. If you didn't receive feedback, please let me know. It's showing posted for me, so I want to make sure that you have that as well. Go through and look at the lit review, cut things out that you don't need. You will notice that initially you thought there would be a lot of things that were relevant, and that changed over time as you start to see your own results come in. That being said, that lit review still needs to be cited, and you still need a reference page at the end of the paper, but you can remove any references that were not used in the paper itself. So the discussion section, we need to talk about that. The discussion section, unfortunately, is the one section where you don't receive prior feedback. So the discussion section is something that you actually do need to spend some time on. This is the so what of the paper. This is why we've come to dinner. When you come to dinner at someone's house, the salad is great, the appetizers are great, but you come for the main course. The discussion is the main course. This is the so what of the paper. So this is what the previous research said. This is what we did. This is what we found. Okay, well, what does it mean? This is what the discussion section is. It's the what does it mean of your paper. So this is why when we were in the lit review phase, I told you, go to the previous papers, read the discussion section, and see if it's relevant. It's important. It is important. This is important. So this is where you are going to tie your research to previous research. So how did your findings mirror or not previous research? What does this mean in the larger context of research? What were some of the limitations to your study? And what are your recommendations moving forward? This section will include citations because you are talking about what previous researchers said and how that compares to your research. So you will need to include citations in this section. Another thing, in some of your results sections, you said things like, and this means, or and this implies, or future researchers should do this, or this is an intervention that could be used to help people. This is where you talk about it. This is where you say, we found this, it means this, this is what we need to do. So this is a really, really cool section, but you only have about 1.5 to 2 pages max to do this section. So you need to do this section well. Prioritize. Remember, the discussion section cannot introduce any new information. So if it wasn't included in your results section, you cannot talk about it in the discussion section. Just keep that in mind. If there's something you really want to talk about, you need to go through and add it back to the results section so that you can discuss it here. Another thing I want you to keep in mind with this paper, you have been warned multiple times, but this is my last and final warning. Do not use personal pronouns in a professional paper. Do not say we, I, us, my, anything along those lines in this professional paper. You will receive considerable point deductions for using that. You have been warned. Please, please do not use professional language in this. One of the best ways that you can tell if something is written well is to read it out loud. You're going to feel like a crazy person, but you're not. Reading it out loud helps you catch those errors. It helps you know where commas need to be added. Where do you take a breath? Hopefully more often than I take a breath. Things like that. Also, if you have a spouse, a friend, a roommate who is willing to read it out loud for you, that would be awesome too. I can't tell you how many papers my husband had to read out loud in graduate school. He knows a lot more about public health than his accounting degree was ever going to award him because of that. So have someone read it out loud because they are very unfamiliar with your paper and they will see those glaring errors quickly. When I grade your papers, I often read them out loud. I know it seems like I'm crazy sitting alone in my office doing that, but read it out loud. You will catch those errors. Remember, this paper needs to be coherent and cohesive. It needs to sound like one person has written this entire paper. One of the best ways to do that is read it out loud. You need one person elected as the editor, and that person needs to make sure it is all in the same voice. You want this to happen because this is a really easy way to get points. If your content suffers, you can make up some of those points by having a really well-written paper. Though your content shouldn't suffer, please don't let it suffer. If you have any questions about the paper, please email me directly. Email me, send me a text message. Let me know about those questions. I am happy to read the paper one time before you submit it. If you would like one proofreading pre-feedback, it needs to be sent to me by Monday afternoon at 5 o'clock. I know it's a little bit of a weird deadline. It's spring break, so I need to maximize my evening time to get you feedback on those papers. So email it to me by 5 o'clock Rexburg time, and I will get you feedback by Tuesday morning at noon. Well, I guess it's afternoon because it's noon. By Tuesday at noon, I will get you that feedback. So please email it to me if you would like early feedback. If it comes in after that time, If it comes in after 5 p.m. on Monday, you will not receive early feedback. I apologize, but you will not receive early feedback. Let me know if you have any questions about that. Remember this draft that you send me, if you choose to do it. This is completely optional. It needs to be fairly polished. It can't be one of those things where we're still throwing things together, because then the feedback isn't very useful to you. Okay, last thing. That research paper is going... Okay, back up. Let's rewind. The research paper is due on Wednesday at 11 p.m. Rexburg time. Please, please, please turn it in before 11 p.m. because you and I both know that Canvas is going to go down at 11 p.m. because that's what happens. If you have a big deadline, something happens. The internet goes out, you have a storm, Canvas goes down, you go into labor. So many things are going to happen. Don't let it happen. Turn it in a few hours early. After that's turned in, I highly recommend that you do your final peer evaluation. The final peer evaluation is due on April 12th, but you have no more group work after that final research paper is turned in. So I recommend that you complete that final peer evaluation on Thursday the 4th. That way it's still fresh in your mind how the group functioned and it's in. Remember, you cannot highlight, underline, pass the class unless you turn in that final peer evaluation. So you want to get that turned in as early as possible. Okay, final peer evaluation done. Then we move on to the research poster. The research poster is an individual assignment. It includes several parts. First of all, you need to do the research paper. Then you need to present the research poster, excuse me. You need to do the research poster by yourself. This encompasses all the sections of the final research paper, but in visual form. It also means that you need to condense those already condensed sections into the most relevant points and put them in visual form. You cannot just copy and paste the paper. I will know if you copy and paste the paper and it will be too small to read. So that will become obvious fairly quickly. So, research poster, all the sections. You have to do a visual form. You have to record yourself presenting it. It needs to work when you do that. The directions tell you to use Google Hangouts Air. I think that's what it's called. You are welcome to use that or any other screencast program that you choose to use. If you have a Mac, QuickTime works really well. It's really fast and it's native to the computer. So you've done the poster, you've done the presentation, and then you have to participate in the discussion board. You have to post, and then you have to comment on 2 classmates' posts. The assignment is not done until you have completed all the parts of it. So the poster itself, the presentation of the poster, and then participation in that discussion board. Just keep that in mind. All of that is due by April 6th. So that's very soon. April 6th is very soon, but you can do it. And then all you have to is a really short reading assignment if you get that peer evaluation turned in, and you can be done with 391 early, which is extra awesome if you are one of those people heading up to Idaho for graduation, or even if you're one of those people that want to take a few extra days off before spring semester starts. So let's get it done. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for sitting through 13 minutes of this. Have a great weekend.